Vivek, can we get started?
Yes, let me put up the slide.
Yeah, please put the slide now. Welcome everyone to this learning event as part of the EGG Forum 2021. And we are very delighted to have you here on this session on how to design projects with data and digital agriculture components. It's the first offering we are doing of this course or of this offering. And what we have tried to do is to learn from all of you, from all the staff who are implementing these projects across our operations, who are doing analytical work across operations. And we have gone and learned from all of them. And we have tried to bring in this kind of this in a learning offering. It's a practitioner-led training. We are not bringing any experts from outside as we do normally for our cooking, What's Cooking series. Every Thursday, we bring in experts from outside so that you can learn from them. This one is more driven through experts from inside. And we are very delighted that a lot of people have contributed your ideas, time, and energy. And the way we have done it to ensure that we get the best of it, we have recorded a lot of videos from the TTLs themselves. And then we will do some interactive interaction. You are, please feel free to write your questions in the chat. And as we do in all virtual events, we will harvest them and there will be people who will respond after each session on those questions. Apart from that, there will be interactive polls and there will be some whiteboarding also which will happen. So this is more like a workshop, a virtual workshop, as opposed to being just a standard webinar. So please put your thinking caps on, ask us any questions you have to ask the practitioners who are presenting any questions you have, and we will try to incorporate most of the questions in the process. A lot of people who are presenting will also be available as resource persons, so they will also respond to your questions in the chat, and I would request all of them to also be active on the chat as well. There are limitations to how we do virtually. We are trying to make it as interactive as possible. Okay, so we start the session today. The agenda is as in front of you. It's first, we will spend some time in introducing to you the whole framework of the data and digital agriculture as we have evolved it in the bank, both from learning from outside and inside, and also discuss the tools and analytics which goes with that. And after that session, we will listen to number of TTLs who have developed analytical tools and projects with data-driven components. And you will listen very rapidly to a series of presentations from them. And then we will break and we'll wait if you have any Q&A, and then you can ask questions. And then we will move to two learning cases where we have gone through more transformative projects using data and digital agriculture. So those will be Mexico and Kenya. And then we will again have an interactive session and brainstorming on what we want to do and what you want to do with this agenda. And if you have any ideas and you want any support from us, we will discuss that also. And we will discuss the way forward. That's how we have planned the whole event. Let's go to the main presentation now, if it's okay, Mary Agnes.
Yes, so should we do the icebreaker first?
Oh yeah, please go ahead and do the icebreaker.
So,
yeah.
Hi everyone. So we don't have much time. So I'm Marie-Agnès Bonjean. I work in the data-driven digital team. I'll be a bit of a facilitator today. And just as an icebreaker and to know who's participating today, we have a very, very simple question first, which is, have you used data and digital technologies in your operations? So yes or no. And we'll come to you afterwards with a second question once we have some answers. Parvati, I'll let you tell me where we're at with the answers and when we can move to the second one. This is a straightforward one, so.
Yeah. We're still receiving, so let's just give it a few more.
Great. So Parvati is also helping us with this. She's also she's more data specialist in our team, and today taking care of the polls. This is a question that's not as innocent as it sounds, and hopefully the results will show us a little bit why.
So we have 23 responses so far, so maybe everybody can key in your answers.
Yes. Well, maybe 23 is enough at this stage.
Yeah, so as we go, I would request you to be active in the polls, because that will make our response valid and be interesting to respond to that. It's just a fun exercise. It's not we are not evaluating anyone on this one. Okay, Mary Agnes, that's a good number of responses you have.
Yes, I don't know if I don't see the answers. Where the
answers are on the poll, you know, so you want me to read up?
Please check your chat.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, so anyways, I don't see the results. But yes, okay, great. So no, interesting. Yes, well, I'm happy to see 80%. The trick with that question was mostly that we were wondering whether you would say yes when you were using data, because data is really the core of all of this, and this is what we use every single day. And most people tend to forget that baseline data feeds into digital technology. So this was the purpose. So happy to see a lot of yes. Second question is, what do you think are the most important digital technologies for agriculture and food? So very rapidly some answers, and now I see them appearing, so I'll be able to more rapidly react. Sorry, it was in the chat. You can have multiple answers. Artificial intelligence is quite interesting. Sensors, that's great. Earth observation, so that's great too. So we see a bit of everything. So ultimately, I've put this question in the poll because this is Parmesh's question when I had the interview for this position, and my answer was a bit of everything, because actually, and what we would talk about is the fact that we use a lot of layering of data, and this is how you augment the impact of data using digital technologies. It's actually to use most of these technologies or data sources together. So I'll stop here. Parmesh, I think we can stop the main presentation. Thanks for your participation. I'll share the PowerPoints now, Parmesh. Tell me when it appears. There you go. Over to you.
Next slide, please. Okay, so what we are sharing with you is what is the foundation of the various kinds of things which are happening on agriculture and food systems on data and digital. So IFC and the bank did a deep dive across last year, you know, with many thought leaders and many practitioners all over the world, and also with many of the staff which were there. And we realized that the EdTech and the digital solutions really work on 4 big challenges which are facing our food system at this stage. The first is clearly, all of you know, it's the low productivity of smallholders challenge, which is a prevalent challenge for all of our projects. When we do that, we realize that a lot of smallholders are at a lower level of productivity than the average productivity, which is possible under those food systems. The second is supply chain inefficiencies, which we saw during COVID, very pronounced, and it's even now lingering on. The supply chain efficiencies are still lingering on. Those issues are very big challenges in the food system. Third issue, all of you are aware, is the lack of access to finance. Still only 10% smallholders have access to formal finance and financial services. And the fourth, which is becoming also a bigger challenge in the event of COP26, we know that the environmental stress and climate change is going to be a big issue. So basically, the EdTech solutions really work on these 4 challenges. So basically, we are looking at the digital solutions and data solutions helping us to improve food production and increase productivity. We are looking at integrated traceability and logistics technology, which helps us with supply chain inefficiency. And we are looking at digital financial service delivery for lack of access to finances. Formal financial institutions are not able to do. And finally, how do we work on improved resource management and resilience using EdTech and digital technologies? Next, please. So basically, currently the joint World Bank and IFC EdTech strategy is built on 4 pillars. The first is enhancing strategic agriculture productivity, which includes a lot of things on how do you work on precision agriculture and lots of other similar things. The second is the supply chain linkages and efficiencies, which includes a lot of digital e-commerce, traceability and logistics. The third is the finance and insurance, which is digital credit, digital payments, and also insurance and other kinds of things. And finally, the environmental solutions, which has to do with lots of climate smart technologies and biological alternatives. Next, please. And clearly, when we did our global flagship report, and some of the people from our team and other people who did this were involved in the global flagship report, which was on transforming the food system using digital technologies. I would recommend you read that, and I hope Vivek is going to put that link in the chat so that you can access that report. It shows that there are a lot of stakeholders involved in bringing food from farmers to consumers, and there are transaction costs incurred every time. So this is in terms of economics. Clearly, we have multiple transaction costs happening, which really make the food system more inefficient in terms of transaction costs. Next, please. So basically, there are information asymmetries which are plaguing the agriculture and food system. And so that's why it's difficult to adopt lots of policies, and lots of technologies don't get adopted because there is a lot of information asymmetries across the systems. It happens at the market failure. It's also at the public sector level, and it also happens at the consumer level. So I think the current system is a little bit broken because of high transaction costs and information asymmetries. Next, please. So data and digital technologies have the potential to transform the system by overcoming long-standing constraints due to transaction costs and information asymmetries. Next, please. And basically, you need a lot of enablers there to address this. There are digital solutions, but there are non-digital solutions also, which are required to make the digital solutions work. So sometimes digital solutions are considered a panacea for everything, but that's not true. You have to need a combination of foundational work on non-data and digital solutions and digital solutions to make it work. Next, please. And that's what we find. And there's issue of connectivity. And so we have found from our report that you can use data and digital technologies in an offline, online way. And this is the report we did in Africa on scaling up disruptive agriculture technologies, which shows that there's a continuum of approaches you can use if you want to use digital technologies. And I would urge you to also read that report to understand that it's not necessary to use only fancy things like machine learning or AI. There are lots of other possibilities when you do digital technologies. Next, please. So basically, coming to today's session, what do we mean by projects with data and digital technology components? So there are 2 simple ways to look at it. A project can use data and digital solutions for more efficient targeting, implementation, and evaluation. You don't need a component, but you need some kind of solutions to be embedded in a project to be able to do that. And there is a second type of projects, which we will talk about today, which require more deeper digital transformation of the agri-food system as a core objective or a means of implementation, where you invest in both the ecosystem, innovation, data, all at the same time. So we will discuss both these examples today there. Okay, next. So example of what we use data digital solution is basically when you do the prioritization and targeting, implementation, evaluation. And so you ask various questions which are there. What are the data technologies which are required to, enablers required to do that. What technology solutions can I use to support the project, and what data or analytics can I use to inform the project? And we have found that that's how most people start their journey on data and digital. And ultimately, you have a lot of things which are then coming in as digital agriculture profiles, repository of case studies, data stories, data observatory to enable you to do that. Next, please. And these are some examples of data can inform projects. I'm not going to run all of them. Obviously, you can use data, LSMS studies, economic climate modeling, geospatial data on soil moisture, market infrastructure, and combine this data to come out with a better focused interventions and also track what is happening to your project. And there are many examples of that, like we have, next please. The DigiAgro example of Guatemala, which you will hear today, is trying to develop an e-commerce solution with WFP for women agripreneurs and market access. That's a very focused digital solution. And Kyrgyzstan, Artuaz probably is in today, have tried a tool, open source digital solution for recording and geolocation of participating farmers and gathering information about all dairy farmers in an integrated dairy project. These are very good examples, and you will hear about them today. Next, please. And these are other projects which require more deeper digital transformation, which is where we work with the EdTech startup ecosystem on innovation, on creating content and service delivery. We work with the data ecosystem for governments and innovators so that the data is more accessible for both public decision makers and private innovators, so that they are able to develop good quality products and services for smallholders and other people in the food system. And finally, it's the institutional innovation within the governments, where governments also work on transforming the government to become more data and digitally driven in their day-to-day operations. Next, please. And so we will discuss this later. It's like, you do innovation challenges, data hackathons, you build capacity, where we play a lot of convening role to build the ecosystem for digital transformation. We bring in a lot of startups, a lot of technology companies, we bring in agribusiness companies and others to really transform the ecosystem. And this is where we want to go in future. We want to do more projects which have strong data and digital foundation in the agriculture and food system projects. And we will hear from some of the details pretty soon. Next. So the foundational project requires to do many things, like on data, we work on digital registry and farm geotagging, weather observatories, crop location through data, watershed and soil moisture mapping, and price and market data, this foundational data. So we built a data platform. And finally, the second pillar is the public service delivery for farmers and the EdTech ecosystem, which is really digitizing producer organizations, digital e-vouchers for fertilizer distribution, and then policies for digital and data, and then developing platforms for linking digital services to farmers, and investing in a digital agriculture innovation public systems, and then lots of specific applications to do with that. So these projects have more data and digital components embedded in them from data and the innovation side there. Next, please. So these are two examples. We will talk about them, so I'm not going to talk about them. The Kenya and Mexico, which we will discuss soon, are going to be the examples of those kinds of projects. Next, please.
So I think it's over to me now.
Yes, what are you?
So, thanks. So I'm moving on a little bit to a broader vision on how we see the work in the digital space. We're all absolutely aware that we're not digital experts, but there's a lot of expertise around. There's a lot of expertise about this ecosystem and how to develop it. There's a lot of expertise in terms of how to use the data and the analytics, and there's a lot of expertise from the investment ecosystem about how to decide where to invest, etc. So what we would like to do is increasingly work with these experts. So we really believe that to fast track the digital transformation using digital technologies, we really very much have to rely as much as possible on this expertise. And this will really be the way to move forward more rapidly and maybe also create some connections that will prevent to multiply initiatives, which is something that we can see right now where everyone is sort of doing the same thing, which is a bit of a waste of public money. So here is, the question is, can we use this expertise and use them to find the best solutions for a question, find the best way of accessing data and using it? For this, we're thinking of two global public goods, and I'll come back to them. But this consortium approach can be at every single level. It can be at the level of identification of the project when we look at, what is the actual landscape in the country. There's a lot of tools that have been developed by a lot of partners, including Gates Foundation. It's also when we try to work with developing the data platform Parmesh told you about. Of course, you all know about CGIAR, but there are many other private sector entities we could work with. And then when it comes to the innovation landscape, we have, of course, IFC, which can support investments, but many other actors we can work with who can help us and who can support some of the innovations that we believe would be interesting in the context of our operations. And so in general, our vision is really to leverage the institutional innovation, catalyze data creation, but also trying to mobilize the government into their role into the scaling and maximizing impact of digital technologies. And for that, in terms of entry points for engagement, we have operations and specific investment pipelines. We have the technical assistance to government, and we have also these global public goods that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about. So the idea for us is to create these global public goods because there's clearly a coordination failure into this digital AgTech ecosystem. There's a lot of people who want to fund AgTech startups, but they don't really find the right ones. There's a lot of data, but it doesn't always find its users. So we felt that here there was really a role for the World Bank to support this global ecosystem, but again, not doing it on our own, but working with a lot of partners and helping more on the convening and coordination side. On the data side, and a huge data landscape, but it's not coordinated, it's not interoperable. We've been talking about that for a long time, but we're currently working with, and thanks to the UNFSS Innovation Levers, with a lot of partners to try to figure out new systems and architecture that can help connect this data. But what's the real power in terms of operations is connecting this environment and all this data landscape to the local national data ecosystem. And really that could help fast track the adoption of digital technologies in the country so that the country can focus on the layering of data that they really need to focus on, what we usually call the ground truthing data. So this is how we believe we can really augment the power of data in our client countries and in different components of operation. Then there's the part that goes into the innovation space, which is the same. There's a problem of coordination. All different stakeholders require sorts of information that right now is not available. So how do we identify the innovations that are really thriving, the ones that can really provide solution to our use case in our client countries? So we are developing with partners this digital innovation accreditation acceleration facility, and with the idea of de-risking with the help of other partners with digital innovation hubs in countries, which can help with innovation challenges, capacity building for startups, etc. So it's really the building of a whole ecosystem that we're thinking about here. So this is just to finish on the ecosystem for the startup ecosystem and how we envision that this digital accreditation facility would feed the operational world with providing with operations with some innovation that could be used and are actually vetted in some ways and known for having high impact and being efficient. I think that's all for me, Parmesh. Now I think we're going to pause. Parvati, I think we have a couple of questions for the audience.
We have one question in this section, so I have already launched it. Do you see it, Mary Agnes?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I let you, but I can say it now. What type of operations are you interested in learning about? As Parmesh said, there's two types that we differentiated, whether you can use data and digital components or digital solutions more as an element that supports the implementation of your project, even looks into impact assessment of the project, or whether you're more interested in the ecosystem building elements, which then requires more deeper thinking about different types of components and maybe working even more closely with the government. So I see that it's the second part, which is great. Thanks for this. I think we can move on actually now to the next session, which is the session 2, where you will have a series of videos that will present to you first one important tool, we believe, to the better understanding of what is happening in one country before we actually start developing data and digital components. Then you have a few short videos bringing together quite a lot of our colleagues presenting their projects, most of them being more the first type of projects with using data or digital technologies as an element of a project. But then we will talk about more the ecosystem building in the session 3 afterwards. So Vivek, I think over to you for the videos.
While Vivek is putting the video, I would request you to start putting your questions on the first presentation in the chat so that we can spend some time on that, and start responding to those questions after the videos are finished there. And please listen to videos and put questions to the TTLs who are presenting also in the chat so that this becomes an interactive kind of a process. So we would appreciate you putting questions in the chat there. Thank you. Go ahead, Vivek.
Digital Agriculture Profile, or DAP, is a diagnostic tool that is used to evaluate the state of agricultural and digital development in a country. And then at the cross-section of these two evaluations, it is used to identify specific policies and investments that can help maximize efficiency, equity, and environmental sustainability of the digital transformation of the agri-food system. As of today, 5 pilot DAPs have been prepared for Argentina, Grenada, Kenya, Turkey, and Vietnam, and a couple more are currently in the works. It offers a rapid yet structured assessment of the key constraints that exist in the agri-food system, of the state of digital ecosystem in a country, as well as a range of digital agriculture solutions that are tailored to the context of a country. DAPs also evaluate the policy environment relevant to digital agriculture and identify any policy gaps that need to be addressed to tackle the existing market failures or like in public goods in the digital agriculture space. You can find more details about the methodology behind DAP in our recent report, What's Cooking? Digital Transformation of the Agri-Food System.
We have been collaborating with the Indonesia team to support the digital component of the iCare project. We initiated the Cultive Haction, an agriculture data hackathon whose name combines the words cultivate, hackathon, and action that seeks to crowdsource technology solution in order to accelerate the digitalization of the agriculture ecosystem in Indonesia. The innovators are invited to develop solutions covering 3 main areas: improve agricultural productivity and resilience to shocks, and including climate shocks, expanding farmers' access to inputs, markets, finance, and supporting data-driven public sector decision-making. Through this collaboration, which is also supported by the Ministry of Agriculture of the Republic of Indonesia and the West Java provincial government, the World Bank Group is coming together to deliver the values in 3 key pillars: strengthening digital foundations, building institutional capacity for innovation through data and technology, fostering learning through partnerships and learnings from government to government between Indonesia and Kenya.
Agriculture with its allied sectors is the largest livelihood provider in India to 60% of 1.3 billion population. It is estimated that digital initiatives such as farm financing, insurance, precision agriculture, and online trading can increase India's farm sector revenues by an incremental value of at least $50 billion by 2025. The sector does Karnataka Watershed Development Project that was implemented in the southern state of Karnataka. This was an IDA project that ran for 6 years, and its main objective was to bring scientific technologies and approaches to watershed management at scale. The key features of this innovative project was a land resource inventory approach, which basically generated farm-level site-specific data on soil, water, vegetation, land use, and so on, in about 1.5 million hectares of land using remote sensing and GIS techniques. A digital portal was established that facilitated easy access of data to many departments through internet, and this became available to a consortium of technical partners as well as government departments. And the data from the portal was used in 2 ways. First is data along with the decision support systems was used to develop soil and water conservation plans and drainage line treatment plans. More simply speaking, more improved and accurate watershed plans at the sub-watershed level. The data was also used to provide agricultural advisory as an extension services, crop selection, nutrient management, and pest management to farmers. So in the 6 years of operation of the Karnataka program, a paradigm shift was made in the planning and implementation of soil and water conservation programs. Government of India appreciated this work and would like to scale up these approaches to many other states of India.
Currently, Kyrgyz livestock sector is suffering from very low yields due to poor genetics, outdated animal husbandry practices, inadequate feeding, and poor animal health. The project is focused on improving milk quality and production in order to increase farmers' cash income and improve their livelihoods. It supports interventions through a milk quality platform, a combination of activities that lead to quality improvement at farm level. I would like to note that we use digital tools as a glue to bring various project interventions together and to enhance the project impacts. We use an open source, easy to use digital tool called Collect Mobile. This is a tool developed by a company called OpenForis in collaboration with FAO. As such, FAO helps us to introduce this tool in the project context. This is a customizable survey app with geolocation capabilities. It allows to create surveys or forms that can be customized for various purposes.
Guatemala's smallholder farmers suffer from low access to markets, dependence on intermediaries, and high post-harvest losses. At the same time, the country is fighting against sobering rates of child malnutrition and food insecurity, which things are even tougher for women producers due to higher information gaps, lower access to market and extension services, and higher informality, compounded by restrictive social norms. To facilitate women's access to the school feeding market, Digitagro, a bank-executed pilot funded by the InfoDev Trust Fund, is developing an e-commerce app and a package of agriculture extension videos in partnership with the World Food Programme and FAO. The app is being developed based on a mapping of the actors, processes, and information flows along the school meals value chain, engaging local actors and central government authorities through a step-by-step validation of processes and practical bottlenecks. The app's interface, in turn, is being built following a human-centric approach, relying on system usability scales and community feedback. The extension videos developed with FAO, in turn, cover practical information and sensibilization on the school feeding program, legal and practical guidance on how women farmers can access the school feeding market, and good food hygiene and post-harvest practices to avoid food loss and to ensure that farmers' produce matches the quality, hygiene, and safety guidelines enforced at schools. After the piloting phase, the videos will be turned over to the Ministry of Agriculture for extension purposes.
I'm going to talk about the Jordan Rural Employment and Agri-Food Transformation Project. This project is under design. Jordan has a thriving and advanced digital ecosystem for the agri-food sector. And therefore, the project is designing components on digital agriculture, such as improved traceability, digitalization of the agri-food related imports, export processes, precision agriculture, and e-extension. The King of Jordan, in a speech to the World Food Prize, highlighted the fragility of Jordan's food system and the need to build greater resilience into that system. He recognized that the application of digital solutions, such as remote sensing technologies to monitor water, moisture of soil, and land use trends, would provide the fundamental information on which to monitor the health of the country's natural resource base. Well, this project was designed to be a proof of concept in a number of key areas. Investing in technologies that established, for example, digital label platforms, investing in software, food system monitoring, traceability, and supporting digital farmer registration. The project was also investing in training and building the capacity of staff within key ministries to use these technologies. And finally, investing in coordination mechanisms that would allow the multiple agencies for which this information was relevant to coordinate and use the information appropriately. How was the component designed? Well, during the design process, we experienced 2 changes in ministers, and we had an interim minister in between. And this had a profound impact on the design. At first, the government accepted the investment in new technologies, building up staff capacity and coordination. These interventions were reflected in the national strategy, and the lessons from COVID-19 and the priorities being laid out by the head of state were all incorporated into design. However, there was a change in minister, and the ministry then pulled back from the recommendations of the design. The reduction in support for digital solutions raised some important questions, some of which may only relate primarily to MENA, but may also be relevant to other country programs. The team continues to redesign the project, and dialogue continues in building public sector awareness about digital technologies.
I'm happy to talk about the Green Generation P4R in Morocco program that I took over recently from David Treguet. It is a 250 million USD P4R approved in December 2020 with a strong dimension in digital. We will hear now 2 different perspectives of the program. First, Nabila Gouroum, who recently joined the Rabat office, was at the time of the program preparation on the client side, so she will bring the client's perspective. Second, Maria Claudia Beauchamp, the co-TTL, will present the design of the program and bring the bank perspective.
After these 10 years of Green Morocco Plan implementation, the government realized that there is still much to do, so he needs to shift its support to the sectors. Indeed, challenges still exist in the downstream agriculture sector, such as the insufficient food transformation and value addition. And there is a lack of modern organized marketing channel. Also, the informal sector is still strongly present in Morocco. So the new green generation strategy has come to tackle all these downstream problems. But also, this strategy aims to strengthen the human capital and boost the employability of young people, helping them to set up agriculture projects all along the value chain.
How was this project designed? In the Morocco Green Generation Program for Results, a joint agriculture and digital development program, the team tested an innovative design approach, which involved considering how strengthening the 5 pillars of the digital economy could support the development of the agriculture sector. We considered not only how the project could directly contribute to a strong digital agriculture sector, but also how to leverage opportunities in the digital portfolio in Morocco to improve the project's expected results. By having this broader approach, the team leveraged key actions in the DPO, supporting increased resources from the Universal Service Fund to incentivize investments in rural areas where agriculture is a large part of the economy. The project also supports the strengthening of digital public platforms by first supporting the development of a digital transformation blueprint for the Ministry of Agriculture. This blueprint will help identify where the ministry is in its digital transformation journey and what it needs to move to the next level. For example, the project supports the development of a robust data platform that will provide validated data to different stakeholders. This platform will be open, secure, and protected. Data governance, privacy, and protection will be key elements of the platform. By considering all pillars of the digital economy and assessing the gaps in each, the project is designed to have strong foundations and maximize the impact of digital solutions in Moroccan agriculture.
Great, so I think this is all the videos. Thanks to all the TTLs who participated in this. I think that's a really brilliant exercise. We just wanted to have a bit of a mood poll for you now. Parvati, if you can show it up. And the question is, after hearing from these projects, how do you feel about integrating data and digital components in your operations? Overwhelmed, reassured it looks feasible, or very motivated? The idea here is that the more the more we hear about data, the more we hear about digital, sometimes the more we feel that it could actually be complicated. So it does require a bit of an entry cost, and there's a lot of information to integrate, which is why, again, going back to the expertise level question of what that I was mentioning earlier, we need to make sure that we have the right people to help us doing this. So very motivated. That's brilliant. Great. So I think we can now move on to the next session, which is to a bit of a deep dive into two cases, the case of Kenya and Mexico. I don't know, Parmesh, you want to say a few words, or if we start these videos now?
Let me just make a couple of introductions. So these are two projects which are most critical at this stage in terms of really influencing the whole ecosystem. So these are where the governments have really bought in, and the clients have bought in this, that we need data and digital agriculture to be incorporated in as a kind in the DNA of these projects, basically. So I think these are very good examples, and I think the TTLs and the clients in some cases will talk to you and explain why they did it, what they did, and how they did it. So these are more extended videos, and I would like you to listen to that. And plus, keep on asking us questions on whatever things come to your mind. I know we are rapidly going through this, and sometimes I feel overwhelmed myself as a participant when I listen to so many things in such a rapid succession. But would encourage, there are a lot of these TTLs are available here as a resource person. So if you ask questions, then we would like to bring them into the discussion as soon as we have questions for them in the chat box. Please go to the chat box and keep on posing questions to make this interactive. Thank you very much. Let's go with the videos now.
Hello, my name is Tomás Rosada. I'm a senior agriculture economist. I work in Mexico, and I am the TTL of the project Strengthening Agriculture and Food Systems by Promoting Access to Finance, AgroIncluye. This is a $575 million project, of which $300 million is being financed through an IBRD loan to Mexico, and it will mobilize an additional $110 million from the counterpart institution FIRA, and another $165 million from participating intermediate financial institutions. The development objective of AgroIncluye is to contribute to expanding access to finance and improve the economic and climate resilience of targeted beneficiaries in selected areas of the country. This project has basically two substantive components. One is a credit line And the second one, it's an agri-tech platform, which we will describe in more detail later on in the video. As said, the project aims to promote rural financial inclusion and the promotion of economic and climate resilient agri-food systems by supporting FIRA, the implementing entity, to expand access to finance for productive purposes through a credit line intermediated by FIRA to participating financial institutions for on-lending to agro-industrial enterprises through a model of contract farming called Programa de Desarrollo de Proveedores. And the second objective is to improve the quality and availability of information and financial instruments to participating financial institutions, agro-industrial enterprises, and rural producers through the development of a new digital agri-tech platform.
Muy buenos días. En esta ocasión quisiéramos presentar el proyecto AgroIncluye. Me gustaría empezar por una motivación de cuáles son las tendencias y desafíos que pensamos que este proyecto AgroIncluye puede ayudar a resolver. Son fuertes los retos a nivel internacional asociados al crecimiento demográfico, sobre todo de toda la población en el medio rural. Se observa también una tendencia al crecimiento económico y mayor demanda de alimentos, una alta tasa de pobreza y desigualdad, pero sobre todo concentración en este rubro hacia adelante, la presencia y manifestación del cambio climático en el ámbito agroalimentario y sobre todo una tendencia que no es menor, que es una disminución en las tasas de crecimiento de la productividad. En el caso de México, es un país que adiciona algunos otros retos, como es una concentración de la pobreza y marginación en nuestro medio rural, una baja productividad relativa, particularmente del maíz, carencias de infraestructura y deficiencias en la comercialización, una fuerte concentración geográfica de la producción y también una creciente exposición a eventos climáticos y sanitarios adversos. Por último, bajo grado de inclusión financiera y acceso al financiamiento en el campo. ¿Cuál es la génesis de este proyecto? FIRA ha establecido un programa institucional cuyas prioridades se centran en la inclusión financiera, la elevación de productividad y eficiencia y la sostenibilidad con el medio ambiente. Objetivos prioritarios que son claramente paralelos a los que el Banco Mundial ha establecido. ¿Qué es lo que detectamos conjuntamente? Nosotros detectamos asimetrías de información, pero también oportunidades importantes de soporte al desarrollo próspero de productores, que son todas estas asociadas al uso de nuevas tecnologías. Bueno, no es un misterio que la asimetría de información es una de las principales barreras para la inclusión financiera y queremos nosotros que esta plataforma va a permitir abatir estas asimetrías de información. En un segundo momento vemos asimetría de información de la oferta de servicios financieros y creemos que la tecnología nos asiste también para que reciban mejor información. Y en un tercer lugar está el soporte para el desarrollo próspero del productor, ya no solo incidir en los servicios financieros, sino en que tenga mejores insumos, mejor información y sobre todo mejor prevención de riesgos. Esta es la plataforma AgriTech que se incluye en el proyecto AgroIncluye y que hace uso de un ecosistema digital de información que se construirá en el proyecto. Este ecosistema digital consiste de indicadores geoespaciales. Tendríamos un ecosistema que incluye información agroclimática, ecosistema que incluye información de los servicios financieros disponibles. Consiste también en poner a disposición de los productores asistencia técnica que pueda ser intercambiada por medios digitales y muchos otros elementos adicionales que se pueden ir sumando a este ecosistema digital en beneficio de los productores. Bueno, los beneficios de esta plataforma son para tres participantes muy relevantes de nuestro sistema. Por supuesto, el productor en primer lugar, las parafinancieras, que son empresas que agrupan la producción que viene de una diversidad de pequeños productores, y finalmente los intermediarios financieros, que son los actores principales en el otorgamiento final del crédito, que en la actualidad constan de una red de 106 trabajando directamente con FIRA. Los beneficios: elevar la productividad de las parcelas de productores, reducir, como dije, las asimetrías de información en el acceso a servicios financieros y también en la comparación de los mismos, disminuir costos de originación y supervisión de crédito y mitigar riesgos en todo el sistema, al anticipar riesgos que afectan la actividad. El Banco Mundial es claramente un socio estratégico al contar con una amplia experiencia, recursos técnicos y financieros. Nosotros creemos que el Banco Mundial es un aliado importante, no solo por los recursos que puede traer a este proyecto, sino también porque comparte los objetivos estratégicos que yo describía en un inicio. Contaremos con el Banco Mundial para asistencia técnica y también una línea de crédito orientada a que el crédito al campo en México se dirija en mayor cantidad, mejores condiciones y con un mayor tino. En resumen, este es el proyecto Agroincluye y bueno, aquí FIRA reitera su compromiso y su anhelo de poder llevar este proyecto a buen término de la mano del Banco Mundial. Muchas gracias.
For the development of the Agritech platform, a blueprint has been produced that will serve as basis for an international bid that will help the project hire development, piloting, and implementation of the Agritech platform. The end goal is to transform the Agritech platform into a one-stop shop digital tool for the agricultural sector in Mexico. The team has also received complementary grant financing from the Korea Green Growth Trust Fund to build in a smart farm system pilot component in the project. Working with FIRA's 5 Technological Development Centers, CDTs, the funding will be used to support the adoption of smart farm technologies in 5 pilot sites. FIRA CDTs will monitor the performance of the smart farms, and it will gain technical capacity for optimal conditions for selected crop types, in particular regions, localities, and for replicating these pilots.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashish Prasann. I'm an agriculture economist and a member of the Agroincluye project team, the World Bank team for Mexico. Today, I'm here to tell you a little bit about the Agritech platform, which comprises component 2 of this project. Now, this is a $5 million investment by our client FIRA in order to design, develop, test, launch, and operate integrated and multi-service Agritech platform in Mexico. Now, the design of this platform is such that it comprises 3 modules explicitly catering to 3 types of clients for FIRA. Namely, these are financial intermediaries, agro-industrial enterprises, and rural production units. So this platform is intended to be a one-stop shop for all of FIRA's clients and operate as a center for information, knowledge, and access to financial services, which is the overall project objective. Now, to understand why this is so revolutionary, it helps to take a step back and recognize the status quo. It is today the case that much of the information collected and processed by FIRA is currently provided to agro-industrial enterprises and farmers, frequently in a non-digital format. And this is through a really large network of promoters and technical consultants that make up FIRA's field network. And it is notable that this comprises of 100 offices spread throughout the country. So really every day there's a large amount of information being generated and collected related to markets, costs, supplies, inputs. And this real sector intelligence is right now not being optimized and utilized to the extent possible. So really this platform is a digitization for service delivery, and it is intended to harmonize and integrate a set of information derived from 26 ongoing projects at various stages of development within FIRA. Now, these projects range across the board and include projects which consist of a credit platform, an insurance platform, georeferencing and monitoring of farms through geospatial tools, and a real reorientation of the centers for technological development, which are really 5 major centers for agricultural research and development in Mexico. So from the World Bank side, investing in this data and innovation platform really brings together agri-tech and fintech and has potential to really scale up services beyond the project as well. And in the medium to long term, we expect this platform to be a provider of services or an ecosystem enabling platform that can help financial intermediaries, agribusinesses, and downstream producers to receive digitally enabled. A little bit about the beneficiaries of the agri-tech platform. While agro-industrial enterprises and rural producers receiving technical assistance and credit under Component 1 are the main beneficiaries of the agri-tech platform, this is true mainly during the project life. We really expect that this agri-tech platform will eventually become a one-stop shop for all the producers and actors in the agri-food system in Mexico. As you see on your screen, there's a representation of the agri-tech platform in which FIRA's information and knowledge hub will be comprised of different layers feeding into the platform itself. Now, given the number of layers of information that is being synthesized, the use cases have really strong implications for climate benefits, in fact, simply because they include highly specialized information like agroclimatic, hydrometeorological alerts and information, high-resolution digital soil maps, and compliance monitoring using remote sensing applications, digital extension, and green and climate-smart credit profiles. So, given this whole range or menu of services, we expect the platform to yield significant climate co-benefits as it scales to other additional services related to climate-smart agriculture as well. Therefore, this project and the platform are highly relevant for Mexico and the World Bank's focus on green, resilient, and inclusive development. We are super excited to see how this platform transforms Mexico's agri-food system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tomas and Ashish. Tomas is available here to answer any questions you have. So I want to draw you in because you guys are a shy bunch. I know it's late in the night or early for you. So please put your questions in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, please go ahead and do that as well, because this will be good if we are able to have an interaction between Tomas and others there. So otherwise we have some interactive exercises after that, which we will start there. So are there any questions at this stage? Please feel free to raise your hand and come in, please. Yeah, I see a participant raising a hand. There are too many people. Okay, yeah, Johannes, yeah, Johannes, our great friend.
My great friend Parmesh, how are you?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, just a very quick question. $575 million in Mexico, 300 million from the bank. I was just wondering where all of these resources go to. Is it to the credit line, or I mean, it can be that much to set up the whole system or the whole platform.
Good. So, are there any other questions? I think I'll ask Tomas to come in at some stage. It's a good question. And that's what we are saying. In digital components don't have to be huge. They have to be very small in order to influence a large lending. So I think, Tomas, you want to come in?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting us, Parmesh. And Johannes, the project, just to give you a sense of magnitude, we are investing $5 million in the digital platform to help not just the 300 million plus the additional co-financing that intermediaries will contribute, but the whole portfolio of FIRA. FIRA is a second-tier development bank with a portfolio of $11 billion. So if we can make this platform work well within AgroIncluye, we have an expansive power with a much larger portfolio. And that's the end goal, to start testing it through AgroIncluye, but then quickly expanding it to the rest of FIRA's portfolio.
So I think just to supplement what Tomas is saying, Johannes, that ultimately we have so many financial institutions working on ag finance, and Mexico, FIRA is the largest, it's the largest financing institution, done billions of lending. And if you can transform, and every financial institution has an agri-fintech platform, then you can influence a lot of lending to go to smallholders in a much more effective way, in climate smart way, in green way, and also in terms of really achieving a lot of market access, productivity, all the things which are not possible to do if you work in a conventional way. So I think what Tomas is saying has a huge implication, that we work with a lot of financial institutions across the board. So investments required are very small, but the impacts are larger. So it's more about leveraging the power of the platform to influence other things. Okay. If there are any other questions, then otherwise, Mary Agnes, do we have an interactive, and Parvati, do we have an interactive exercise after this, or should we move to the Kenya presentation?
I believe we can give 5 minutes to an interaction with the whiteboard, Parvati, but not more than that. Otherwise, we'll be very late, I think.
So what I would suggest is that let's go to the Kenya presentation and then combine the whiteboarding at the end of this, basically. Is that okay?
Seems good.
Okay, let's go to the Kenya presentation now. Vivek?
I'd like to talk about the context in which the data and digital technologies work in Kenya was scaled up, and the reasons why our team decided to focus on the use of data and digital technologies to transform the agriculture sector in Kenya. So there are three main reasons. First was we had a very large portfolio of $450 million of investments that covered the entire country, which meant that we were working with 1 million farmers who are organized into farmer groups and federated into farmer producer organizations, 500 of them. So we had this large network of farmers, but the constraint was last mile service delivery. So we were very keen to look at potential solutions which will help farmers access extension, credit, inputs, and market linkages. On the supply side, as part of our project portfolio, we were investing on a big data platform. So we had the ingredients of really leveraging data and digital technology. So this was the first reason, our investments on the ground and our investment on a big data platform. The second big reason was the ownership and I would say the seriousness of the Ministry of Agriculture to use data and digital technologies. So they had released their 10-year kind of vision document called the Agriculture Sector Transformation and Growth Strategy. And in this document, they were very clear that the use of data and digital technologies will be a key enabler and a central pillar. So we had a client who really wanted to use data and digital technologies. And the third reason was the excellent existing ecosystem of data and digital technologies, especially from a private sector point of view that existed in Kenya. So the bank had done a mapping of disruptive agriculture technologies in Africa, and 30% of these disruptive agriculture technologies were from Kenya. And there was a lot of vibrancy. Kenya had done a lot of work on digital financial services. So here was a private sector and a digital ecosystem, but that was really primed to work with the private sector, was very keen to work with the private sector. So to summarize, we had three main reasons. One was a very strong portfolio, which meant that we had an engagement with 1 million farmers and 500 producer organizations, the only constraint being last mile service delivery. We had a client who was very keen and who wanted to really use data and digital technologies. And we had a digital ecosystem that was very, very supportive and positive in Kenya.
Hello, everyone. Let me pick from where Vinay has left and talk about what it is we have done over the last 2 to 3 years in the area of agriculture digitization in Kenya. From our discussions and consultations with the client, the government of Kenya, represented by the Ministry of Agriculture, it was clear that initiatives were needed at both the national or policy level, as well as at the devolved subnational level of the counties or at the farmer level. And this involved basically connecting our investments at the national level on big data and policy reforms to our investments at the county level, which are aimed at building agriculture productivity and improved market linkages. Let me start with the farmer level investments at the counties. These have revolved basically around 3 areas. The first one is we have mobilized slightly over 1.1 million smallholder farmers and organized this into 50,000 common interest groups of 15 to 25 farmers who are federated into slightly over 500 farmer producer organizations across 19 value chains in the 45 rural counties in Kenya. The second thing we have done at the counties is we have gone ahead and registered all the 1.1 million farmers and their farmer institutions. This is the CIGs and the farmer producer organizations, and put this information into a digital database. At the farmer level, the farms are geotagged. We know where they are, and we have basic information on the farmer and their farming enterprises, including what they are producing, their farm sizes, and in the case of livestock enterprises, the number of animals and a number of birds, if it is chicken for that matter. At the CIG or FPO level, we also have their information digitized, including membership, services they are offering, the volumes of produce they are handling, and other aspects of those farmer producer organizations. Then the third thing we have done at the county level is we have built a cascading agriculture extension ecosystem able to reach every farmer. And this comprises of currently 10,000 resource farmers or lead farmers as the last mile extension touch points. Basically, the idea here is to have at least one lead farmer for every CIG. The lead farmers are then supported by a network of community-based agripreneurs equipped with digital extension tools. These are then supported by public extension staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, complemented by specialized private sector service providers, all of whom are being trained. At the national level, 4 key areas are worth mentioning. The first one is we have harnessed the body of knowledge available at the National Agriculture Research System and synthesized this into ready-to-use climate-smart technologies, innovations, and management practices. Here, through support to the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization, 650 climate-smart teams have been identified and validated as suitable for adoption by farmers across the 19 value chains. These have been then digitized and are available online and can be accessed by the extension ecosystem at the county level. This is the extension staff of the ministry, the private sector service providers, the agripreneurs, and the lead farmers, all who are able to provide this again to the 1.1 million farmers. The second thing we've done at the national level is investments on the big data platform, which provides integrated agro-weather and market information services, building on investments which have been made around 3 areas. One is the Kenya Agriculture Observatory, which provides agro-weather advisory services. Then the second one is the Kenya Agriculture Market Information System, which collects market information from all key markets in the country and synthesizes this information into market advisories, which can be availed to farmers at the grassroots. The third area at the, on the big data platform is the registry of the 1.1 million farmers hosted at Calrum under the big data platform. Then the third area of investment at the national level has been support to transformation of the government input subsidy program into an e-voucher system. Through technical assistance, the bank has supported establishment of a digital platform capable of delivering the e-subsidies. And this has basically involved digital registration of farmers targeted under the e-voucher system, registration of the last mile inputs suppliers, the agromates, and integrated in the settlement or payments system. So in short, the 2 things we did first were to support the government to digitize at the national and at the county level to ensure that investments at national level are connected and accessible at the farmer level. Basically, getting our investments at the national level to speak to the investments at the farmer or the county level. So the first 2 is really digitize concurrently at the farmer level or at the county level, and at the same time digitize the investments at the national level. Then the third thing we did was to help the ministry ensuring that the connections are done. This is in terms of and only the process of building partnerships between the private sector innovators in provision of digital solutions to the farmers and leveraging on the public investments made in farmer mobilization, in structuring the cascading extension system and the big data platform. Our technical support enables innovators to provide productivity enhancement activities, including the delivery of community-based extension services and promotion of modern technologies, value chain initiatives in crop and livestock clusters, and strong market support using digital platforms. Overall, the aspiration or the goal is to ensure that all the 1.1 million farmers are receiving last mile services delivery in terms of extension and financial services, inputs delivery and market linkages through partnerships established with agri-tech innovators participating in the digital 1 million farmer platform. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Beryl Agengo. I will talk about the Innovation Challenge and our progress on the 1 Million Farmers platform. As a background, in 2019, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and support from the Korean Trust Fund, the bank team held a knowledge and challenge conference that identified 14 agri-tech startups who would pilot and work with pre-selected counties. The objective of the conference was to identify a set of startups that would partner with the national and the county governments, leverage the analog investments being made by KSAP and NARID, and scale up the access to digital agricultural technologies for the farmers. The conference led to the launch of the 1 Million Farmers platform, a digital platform created to build Kenya's disruptive agriculture technologies ecosystem. The winners were grouped into 4 major categories, that is productivity, financial services, market linkages, and data analytics. The objective of the challenge was to identify a specific group of local innovators who would scale up the innovations and partner with the counties to offer bundled services for the smallholder farmer. It was envisaged that the bank would work with award winners to support the development and expansion of their products and services. The bank would offer the award winners direct grants to enable them reach 1 million farmers, support linkages with the awardees, scale partners to help them bundle, enhance their products and services, expand outreach and financial viability, but also link relevant initiatives with the World Bank portfolio. The selection process included an ecosystems players workshop, online applications, screening, boot camps, and the challenge winners were then announced. Post the challenge, we facilitated several workshops between the 14 innovators and the pilot counties so that the farmers could access these services. Despite COVID, we have now reached nearly 200,000 farmers who have been mobilized on the digital platform, and the objective was to reach 1 million farmers in the next 3 years. The number of startups has also grown from 14 to 24, where the partnerships have been rolled out, and also in the counties we've increased from 16 to 26, and this is due to the client-side demand. What private sector leverages did we include? Private sector partnerships have been included, and this includes institutions such as Rabobank, Microsoft, Agra, Grey Labs, and Masico, who have worked directly with the cohort to offer both financial and technical support. What did we do that is different? The projects have been restructured to include additional support for digital solutions at the national level, to include the cost for digitization of farmers and Agricultural Transformation Office, technical assistance for e-voucher, as well as the food balance sheet. At the county level, budgets were adjusted for mobilization, training, and equipment purchase to incentivize the agricultural startups.
So Parmesh, should we move to some whiteboarding exercise for a few minutes and then to a conversation?
Yeah, just a minute. I just want to see if anyone wants to raise some questions for Vinay and James and Beryl, who are also present here right now, to answer any questions which people have. Otherwise, we have designed some interactive exercises around these cases after that. So, Johannes, go ahead.
Just a quick question. Thanks for the presentation. As usual, Kenya seems to be at the forefront of all of this stuff. But is there any evidence about impact on income? I mean, that's, after all, that's the bottom line of it all for the farmer.
$1 million question. Yeah, Vinay, can you come back on this fairly quickly?
Sure, Parmesh. First, I would say we have clear case studies which show a very substantive increase in income. But as you would understand, Johannes, that this program is now exactly 1.5 years old. So it will take time for a large impact evaluation to be rolled out. But we are talking to Luke Christensen, and we will be rolling out a very detailed, rigorous impact evaluation. Hope that answers, Parmesh.
Yes, I think that's what we are designing now, an impact evaluation program with Luke Christensen and also with the development research group to really do the impact evaluation, because I think but we are at a very early stage. So all these projects we are trying to develop evidence collection programs. Johannes, your point is very well taken, because we cannot just talk about technology and innovation, but we have to talk about impact as well. But I think maybe down the line in the next 6 months. Luke is also on this call. So Luke, would you like to comment on this, what your plans are?
I can't tell about the plans. We're basically absorbing all the information. We basically started, 10 days ago, but it's clearly very fascinating what's happening there. And yeah, we're looking how to design an impact evaluation. So we're talking to some of the startups, trying to understand and absorb all the many different things which are going on. So impact evaluation will be challenging. That I think is also something to realize, but that's not alien to any value chain development. So that I think it's common to all value chain developments how to analyze impact. But yes, we're working on it.
So watch this space, so maybe down the line we will talk about this issue at some stage. Yeah. Any other questions before we go to some interactive exercises? Okay, so May Agnes, can we go to and Parvati, can we go to the interactive exercises before we close? Yeah.
Yes, I'll let Parvati actually handle this one.
The whiteboard is loading. Just give it a few seconds, then you should be able to see it on the screen.
Give people instructions on how to use the whiteboard as well, because some people may not have used it earlier.
Yes, I'm just waiting for it to load. Do you see the whiteboard on the screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, it has loaded already.
Okay, so basically in the whiteboard, we would like to hear from you what are some of the key takeaways. We have already pre-filled some of them to just show how it can be done. So if you click on any of these notes, you can click on it and then type whatever you want to type. So this is one way of telling us what you think are some of the key takeaways. You could also add some reactions. So if you click on this add button here and go to reactions, you can add some reactions on these notes. For example, if you have more questions on how what's the impact on farmers' income, just put a question mark here. And it's just one example that I just picked up from the question. So you can just add a question mark or any reactions that you want. For example, the importance of innovation ecosystem. So you can just add that reaction. So we'll give a few minutes. Maria-Agnes, please confirm how much time we will give for the participants, and you can type in your text or add reactions to the boxes and notes.
Well, we don't have that much time, so I guess we give maybe 2 minutes to you each. We have one on Mexico after.
And if you have any questions, just let me know. I can help you with it.
Parmesh, you are on mute.
So I'm just saying that if people have not used this earlier, it will be good for you to just try these things out, because in virtual world, these techniques are being more proactively used in workshops. So I would request you to stay engaged on this a little bit. And we need feedback at the end on what you found useful and what you didn't find useful as well. Yeah. So some people are saying they can't access the whiteboard. So obviously people are facing technical difficulties in doing that. Okay, so it doesn't, we're not getting the response at this stage. So I think it's best that we do not do the whiteboarding for the next case as well, because it won't work in that sense. So that let's come to the concluding slides then, basically, and go there. Okay.
Okay, let me, maybe I don't know, Parvati, if I can do it with the whiteboard. I need to put the slides on.
Whiteboard needs to be removed now. Yeah.
Yeah, I have stopped presenting. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Marie-Agnes, the next one, please.
Sorry, I cannot actually do it faster. Apologies for that. It's not showing up. Always digital complexities. There you go.
Yeah. So basically, I'm just trying to now tell you what we are going to do in future with this work program, so that all of you can come in. And Vivek, can you be ready with the last set of slides also while I'm doing this, so that we can immediately go to that. So basically, we are working on two areas as global public goods. We are trying to develop a global innovation accreditation acceleration facility, where we will get the top 30 or 40 innovators who are working globally to be accredited, and all of you who are working on projects can then use those services for those accredited innovators in your programs. And so in terms of procurement, we are trying to work with procurement that after this accreditation is done, it's easier for you to access these services for your projects and investments. And the second one we are going to launch is a food system data observatory, where 13 or 14 most important data sources will be accessible to our teams and the client governments in order to use them for decision making and products. So you don't have to run after separate data sources. They will all be accessible from a central database. Apart from that, we are also helping you with organizing innovation challenges and hackathons, which are going to be, like one which is happening right now in Indonesia. We have supported, and South Africa is also doing an innovation challenge. And we are also supporting a number of learning exchanges there. And we will also offer an open learning campus course for all the clients in the next 6 months, where we can do customized courses for the clients there. And the webinars and deep dives also, which you are already attending, are there. Next, please. So basically, we have requests right now from many countries. I've shown you some of the countries we are working in. We are ready to support you if you want help in doing various kinds of things in your own countries. Next, please. So these are the product offerings, and this will all be shared with you so that you have it available there. There are design clinics for task teams, obviously. There are digital agriculture profiles, which Katrina talked about, support on that. Deep dive studies on innovation ecosystems, repository of case stories of projects with digital content. And also, if you want to do a design clinic for your team, just give us a shout. We'll help you think through how you can incorporate these things in your projects. Also, if you want to do these for your clients, we can also organize that. We have started organizing G2G, government to government learning and knowledge exchange. Suppose someone wants to learn from Mexico and Kenya in your country, we could organize, facilitate that. Support for analytical work, digital agriculture profiles, country innovation assessments, and then also support for organizing innovation challenges. If you want to develop partnership with other innovators and financing agencies like GIZ, Gates Foundation, we can support that. Gates Foundation has just started supporting the Africa team now with a dedicated fund with our projects, where Mercy Corps will work with our programs. So we are also helping you negotiate those partnerships. We also can provide cross support through team membership and peer reviews. We can also help you develop trust fund proposals, and because we have a new request coming from the Korean Trust Fund. So if you want to prepare a proposal for the Koreans or for other kinds of donors, And for the Umbrella Trust Fund, we'll help you do that. Next, please. Vivek, can you bring your slides now? So some of the resources which are very important, the Open Learning Campus, which has about more than 50 recordings of all the webinars which have happened till now. I think it'll be good for you to go there and access that. It's a very important resource which is being used by a lot of global stakeholders, including private sector and governments already. So I would encourage you to use this resource and also attend our weekly webinars. Second is a website. It's an external website on digital agriculture, which has a lot of resources which we have seen here, but also much more there. And we are trying to develop this as a kind of a one-stop shop for you to access various resources there. So I would encourage you to, and there are links in the chat also on this. So we would request you to work on that. We will come back to you with an evaluation for the course. Can you show the team, please? Vivek. Yeah, this is the team. So I want to just show you the team which is working on that. And please approach any one of them at any stage you feel like. This is a new area. This is just a 1.5 to 2-year-old team. So we are still developing our capacity to service you, but we are there available to work with most of you as we go forward. And I really want to thank all the people who really developed these videos jointly with us, and many of them are here. And we would be also coming back to many of you in future for recording even more videos, because we think that continuous capturing and documentation is very important. Next, Vivek. Finally, please join our community of practice. It has 150 people right now in the community of practice. And I think please write to us at this email ID, which also we will send to all the participants there. And thank you very much, and really deeply appreciate all the TTLs who acted as resource persons today. I also appreciate all the participants who did that, and I also thank the organizing team for doing that. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.